If you told Chelsea fans last summer that going into the final 12 games of the Premier League season they'd be ahead of Liverpool, they would have been delighted. But unfortunately that says more about the champions' decline than it does about the Blues' progress. With more than £200 million spent in the summer of 2020, 40 million more than Europe's second biggest spenders, Man City, Chelsea correctly identified that the 2020-21 campaign would be one characterised by upheaval and chaos, and saw an opportunity to cement a place in the top four and even push for major honours. However, they were mistaken in the hope that Frank Lampard could lead them into that brighter future, and after just 18 months at the helm, he was sacrificed to bring in the more experienced Thomas Tuchel. Tuchel seems a good fit for a squad full of attacking talent and well-drilled in press and possess football under Lampard and Sarri, but that hasn't stopped transfer rumours circulating already in West London, and in particular those rumours concern Erling Braut Haaland, whose spectacular form for Borussia Dortmund has piqued the interest of every European superclub. But should Haaland really be Chelsea's priority? What has gone wrong with the front line this season? And where else could the Blues look to strengthen this summer? Let's find out. The first thing to point out is that while Chelsea's attack remains a step behind those of Liverpool and Man City, there's nothing really wrong in the numbers. At the time of writing, only those two sides and Man United manage more than Chelsea's 1.6 xG per 90 minutes, while Leicester and Spurs' spots above the Blues in the scoring charts are largely a product of good finishing. Shots tell a similar story, though there is room for improvement. Joint third for shots per game and sixth for shots on target, Chelsea have a solid attack which is likely to get better as some of the promising youngsters in the squad gel and Tuchel settles on a lineup and a system. But some Chelsea fans may doubt whether the personnel merit time to prove themselves. In particular, Timo Werner has endured a difficult campaign since his £48 million switch from RB Leipzig last summer. The primary goalscorer for all his previous clubs, Werner has mostly played off the left this season, and at the time of writing has scored just 5 times in league play, one fewer than Tammy Abraham, who's played 1,000 minutes to Werner's 2,000. That could be a worry, and the Germans' numbers have taken a tumble in 2021, from 3.8 shots and 1 xG per 90 at Leipzig to 2.7 shots and 0.6 xG in London. His creativity has also slumped from 1.7 chances created a game to 0.9, but there's reason to expect a rebound. Across his career in Germany, Werner scored above the rate predicted by XG, netting 78 from 69 expected goals, which makes it unlikely that his current run of 5 strikes from over 8 xG is anything other than a blip, despite the laughable misses along the way. It's also worth pointing out that in his final season in his homeland, he took more shots and got more on target per 90 than Erling Haaland this season, while his XG was almost identical to the Norwegians, meaning that if Chelsea fans think they were conned into buying Werner by his output in what they consider a weaker league, the same would have to be possible for Haaland too, and at 3 times the price. But even if Haaland offers an upgrade on Werner, Chelsea's attack is so strong that it's a weird place to put their money. Abraham has played just 44% of available minutes this season, but continues to deliver in that time, with 0.6 xG a game, while Olivier Giroud manages a similar tally. And that's without considering the wide talent. If we include Mason Mount in the winger category, Chelsea have 4 players beside their 3 strikers putting up around 0.4 expected goals and assists per 90, while Kai Havertz trails that group on about 0.3. To put that in context, Liverpool's best attacking contributor outside their front 3 is Alexander-Arnold on 0.25 xG plus expected assists per 90 minutes, while Man United similarly have only 3 stars who break the 0.3 mark. In particular, Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi offer plenty of upside. Last year, Pulisic picked up an exceptional 13 goal involvements in 19 starts and took or created over 4 shots a game, while Hudson-Odoi was responsible for nearly 5 attempts on goal for his side and bagged 6 goal contributions in 7 appearances. Most excitingly of all, the 20-year-old Englishman has shown glimpses of a rare ability to dribble into the penalty area, ranking 2nd across Europe in that category this season. And if you think that's an obscure stat which doesn't mean much, it's worth looking at the names either side of Hudson-Odoi, Jack Grealish above him and Kylian Mbappe below. Kai Havertz too has had a down season, struggling for a role in his maiden campaign, as well as with fitness issues and the after effects of COVID-19. But his frightening record in Germany means that Chelsea have at least 3 young forwards with the potential to become superstars, as well as having reason to believe Werner will start scoring again and Abraham is good enough to be a regular. Add in the supporting cast and a pair of exciting fullbacks in James and Chilwell, and Tuchel has all the artillery he needs to blow teams away next season. But if the club shouldn't shell out in the attacking department, where else could they look to strengthen? Chelsea's divorce from Frank Lampard was always going to be messy, but amid the storm of stories emerging from the training ground in the aftermath of his sacking, one was especially interesting. According to reports in The Athletic, the coach repeatedly requested that the Chelsea board made a bid for West Ham's Declan Rice, who he felt could be used in both holding midfield and in defence, and give his team greater fluidity. But there were barriers to a deal. West Ham's asking price was reportedly around £80 million, and Rice himself presented a PR problem for Chelsea, having cut the Englishman from their academy just 6 years previously. As with Antonio Conte's interest in Romelu Lukaku, the club ultimately decided it was better to look forward rather than back, and went into the new season with no midfield reinforcements. However, Lampard might well have been right about Rice. Just 22 years old, he's racked up well over 100 Premier League appearances, and his time in the first team has coincided with a steep improvement in the Irons' performances, the club climbing from 13th in the division to genuine Champions League contenders over the last 3 seasons. And while Chelsea's defence has been exceptional since Tuchel's installation in the dugout, the German may see Rice as his new Weigl or Marquinhos, comfortable dropping into the backline or striding into space. Rice's defensive influence in the engine room is clear. This year he ranks 18th in the Prem for combined tackles and interceptions per game on 4.5, which is above Kovacic on 3.5, level with Jorginho, and behind Kante, who is the best in the country, at 6.3. But unlike his potential new teammates, he's rarely beaten one-on-one. Kovacic and Jorginho successfully tackle under a third of the players who try to dribble past them, and Kante only manages 45% success. Meanwhile, Rice is at 48, showing that he has both the defensive awareness of the Brazilian, the mobility of the Croatian, and could alleviate the burden on the Frenchman. That burden is becoming increasingly difficult for Kante to bear. Of Chelsea's last 64 league matches, he started just 39, playing around 60% of the available minutes in that time. And at nearly 30, it's inevitable that his fitness will need to be managed over the coming seasons. So Rice's durability is encouraging, with the Englishman missing only 4 of the Irons' last 102 league games, and having played every single minute in the Prem since the beginning of the 2019-20 campaign. He's also underrated in possession. He completes a dribble a match, the same as Kante and twice as many as Jorginho, and his strength and deceptive speed make him almost impossible to dispossess, with an 87% dribble success rate, better than anyone at Stamford Bridge. His passing is good too, as though his progressive pass numbers still rank below the 3 Chelsea CMs on 3 a game, they've improved year on year and are largely a product of West Ham's setup, which uses fullbacks as the primary avenue for moving upfield. Rice is second in the squad to Cresswell for passes into the final third, and his distribution suggests he'd map well onto the hybrid DM-CB role, completing a massive 74% of his long balls for a total of 6.5 a game. The same success rate as Kante, Jorginho and Antonio Rudiger. Of course, he's hardly a cheap option, but as a homegrown midfielder with the ideal attributes and his whole career ahead of him, Declan Rice would be a solid signing for the Blues. If they want to push up the table and prepare for a Conte-less future, reviving their interest would be a logical move. A world-class striker at 20 years old, Erling Haaland is such a rare commodity that it's understandable that Chelsea would take an interest in him. But with plenty of depth in attack, targeting the youngster would be a strange move this year. The transfer market is not the solution to every issue, and even our suggested swoop for Declan Rice could prove unnecessary if Billy Gilmour develops faster than expected. Thanks to intelligent squad building, Thomas Tuchel has an excellent roster less in need of reinforcements than of direction, balance and encouragement. Focus on those, and Blues fans won't mind missing out on Haaland. So that's our take on Chelsea's interest in Erling Haaland, but what do you think? Should they just go for the Norwegian? Should they sell Timo Werner? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, drop us a like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to never miss an upload. We'll see you next time.